Hi everyone, my name is Nicola Mende. I'm the Communications and Marketing Officer at Pearson College, and today I'm meeting with Lucas Olscamp, one of our esteemed alum. Lucas, you're in year 38, and I believe that was the year 2011 when you had your last year at Pearson College. You're a Canadian alum, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do right now, and maybe let's start with your time at Pearson.
So yes, I mean, you summed it up quite well, but yeah, I'm year 38. I'm from Prince Edward Island, Canada. So born and raised and grew up on PEI and barely hardly left the East Coast until I kind of flew out to Pearson. And I was there, yes, through starting 2011 through 2013. And so just over 10 years, I think my 10 reunion coming up. And at the time, yeah, I was definitely a budding artist and very much into kind of the theater life, taking theater, but also diving into marine science and anthropology at Pearson at the time when I was taught there. Definitely kind of artsy kid through and through. But back then I never thought I'd really be continuing to pursue a career in it. At the time, I didn't really realize how much it would kind of be incubated there. And lo and behold, here we are less than 10 years later, like full circle back to be teaching theater and visual arts here at Pearson College.
So last year you've joined the campus as an alum in residence. So how did this all come about?
Yeah, so following Pearson, I left Pearson and then I attended New York University of Abu Dhabi. So I was there living in the Arab world for 4 years, on and off to campuses in Germany, in Australia, in New York, doing again, continuing my passion. First, I thought I got accepted I moved into social research and public policy, which I thought at the time would be kind of what I would continue my life in. I was barely in that for 2 weeks before I realized that theater and the arts had kind of pulled me and called me back into the community. I spent 4 years doing that, and immediately following, I went into my master's in theater design, and so that was blending my love for visual arts and theater quite cohesively in my master's in Toronto at York. And then, yeah, after that, I was kind of living my life, pursuing artistry, kind of forming my own company and working in with other artists that I was passionate to work with. And then I had this kind of slot of time where I was I was living in Costa Rica, and then I had this kind of spring, winter coming up. And I realized I didn't know what and I had a lot of plans and dreams for what I wanted to do. And then suddenly, yeah, Pearson kind of came back into the framework. It kind of like reached out from the void. And I just had this kind of desire to return to the kind of Pearson. I realized I'd never been back to the campus since I was a student. I've stayed connected to many alumni since in my co-years and stuff, but it had been a long time since I'd really invested in what was going on at the college since. And I just blindly kind of reached back out to the college and said, what is going on? I see this alumni in residence program. Is this something that you would be interested in? And then it was the perfect timing, I guess, because very soon after, again, it was a time of transition for the arts in the community. And they were very much interested in having someone who could come and assist in the costumes for one world, but then slowly assist in all things arts and theater around the campus. And yeah, a little couple months there, the COVID madness, and then turn around, the opportunity arose, and now I'm teaching here.
Now you're teaching here. That's fantastic. And you've taken on not only one role, you've taken on two roles with
Yes.
teaching.
Yeah, I think
That's
it has been, I mean, it was my dream. I mean, truly was the dream because I said, I always thought, I know when I was a student here, I took theater. I didn't take visual art because at the time I couldn't take both courses in the group 6. But I always was a visual arts student and someone who was deeply passionate with visual arts. And that's why even though I pursued theater as my undergrad and master's, it was deeply in design and in visual. So it really was translating the visual art into the performative. And so when I was offered the opportunity not only to invest in theater, something I was assisting quite deeply in last year at the course, but also visual art, it was like the dream come true of both my worlds, where I really said, not only can I share both my passions of visual art and theater, but for the first time ever, I think at the community, really start to talk about what does it mean to teach those courses with the same person and to really ask deeper questions of the group 6 of the arts at our campus. And I'm hoping now in the future to build more bridges between the visual arts and the theater students here on the campus. So we have more kind of hybrid forms of teaching that I'm interested in.
that sounds super exciting. While you were on campus as a student, is there any incidents or any faculty member, for example, who stood out for you and who influenced you in your passions or further at that?
Oh, I owe so much of my passion for theater to Libby Mason, who was, just an incredible, I mean, obviously the theater teacher for a long time and moving through many other courses, also teaching and dean of students, even when I was the time. But Libby was my theater teacher, and in my second year, my advisor, and was so much more than that. She was very much a spiritual guide, a kind of artistic mentor, and really took me under her wing. And I remember joking back then at one point saying how much I had a passion for not only being an artist and looking more for how to develop my skills in theater, but teaching theater and being a leader and a kind of guide in theater, so too as she was, as such an incredible leader in my life. And we joked about how one day I could be teaching theater like her and taking over. And it's quite just serendipitous that as it came only a year after her retirement through some transitions that I'm now here. And I feel just eternally grateful to her and Ava at the time. I wasn't in her course, but Ava teaching visual art who was around in the community, both, again, incredible community members who were really inspiring to me in the arts at the college at the time.
Wow, that's quite the story, and quite serendipitous, as you put it so well. Um, so, tell me about your side project, or not, probably not a side project, your website, Tooth and Fang, and your own website, and your work with arts and costumes. Someone said to me once that they thought the website was pretty blunt and maybe very
Risque.
yeah, it could be scary, and I think it's a good reflection of what you're passionate about, and how you approach design, and but tell us about how these influence your work with the students here at the college, and if a parent or guardian was to see that, how they what their students should tell them about it.
Yes. Yes, I mean, for so long in my life, I was someone who was interested in the unfamiliar, in the strange, in the kind of taboo in many ways. I mean, growing up, I was a kid who loved monsters. I loved the mythological, the magical, the fantastical. And I grew up with these inspirations of what were these kind of monsters as a kind of geeky thing, a kind of side thing to my life, to be like, that's just an interest.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't until I think I touched on it in my Pearson experience, but really didn't come to fruition until my undergrad and master's, that how deeply ideas of monstrosity, not as something that's scary, but as why is it scary? Why is it things that are weirdly actually sounds a lot like Pearson College, but things that are very different coming together and fusing together, and that in our culture and our society, those are often very scary things. Something about things that are multiple things at once, things that resist binary, that resist kind of genre. And I, for so long and finally in my career, I said, like, I want to dive deeper into that. I really want to invest in what are monsters, monstrosity, hybridity, transformation, metamorphoses. These are all things that are deep to my practice and deep to kind of like not only the content that I want to be delivering and how I'm interested in, but also my methodologies of how I teach and how I approach art making. So very soon after, when I graduated from Abu Dhabi, I actually had this as a concept. These are the things that I loved, but I was like, how do I put this into practice? And so very soon after, I formed actually a company with one of my amazing co-collaborators, Alana Avalon, and many other incredible collaborators who are from NYU Abu Dhabi. And together we formed Tooth and Fang, which is an international arts collective. And we were devoted to playing with that, with really understanding and unearthing these kind of monstrous, the kind of unknown, the bizarre, but how these things reflect contemporary issues, and really issues that we believe that are really important to us and each other and our own identities as artists, but also as people. And so we formed Tooth and Fang, and very soon after, we've been very grateful and privileged to produce, again, over 4 scale productions in 4 different continents. We've been traveling around the world and kind of doing theater, immersive experiences, and we have many dreams, again, for how we're going to continue this forward. But that has bled into my website, which again, I hope is its own artistic portfolio of who I am and how I approach artistry. And it's also, I think, is bleeding into Pearson, which is that going back to that, I'm interested in monsters as a metaphor, but a reality as something that shouldn't be feared, it should be revered. And it's something about how we bring things together, bring unlike things together, things that are resistant, that are scary, that are disturbing, actually, things that are not disturbing in a sense that it should upset you, it should make you uncomfortable and put you in places where you have to ask deeper questions of yourself as an artist, of yourself as an audience member witnessing, and of yourself as a student. So we really, what does that mean to bring that together? And so when teachers are watching or maybe coming along to my website or other things, I hope that they see in it that kind of childish, purposely childish kind of revere and love for monsters. Kind of, I know Halloween had just finished up. I think it was a great time to introduce my work, which is really to be like, that I want to inspire. Why is it all young kids love monsters? And they love them for certain reasons. And I want us to keep that strong in my students. And I hope that through my work and all these kind of what may seem kind of scary imageries, they see in it actually explorations of subtle and beautiful kind of concepts and contemporary issues that I think are incredibly relevant to our student body, even here today in the community.
Wow, that is a very deep answer. I'm very impressed. It makes so much sense. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that and sharing that insight. But let me switch it up a little bit. After being on campus as an alum in residence and then taking on your roles as a new faculty member, you've also become a house buddy.
Yes.
How is that? How did that all come about? And how is your experience living on campus again after so many years?
Yeah, I think I was last year I was living on campus in Woodward A when I was a resident here as kind of alumni resident. But I knew that if I was going to be teaching back here, I wanted to be on the campus. I said, it's one thing to be returning to teach. It's another thing to be a resident and to live and breathe and work on this campus every day. And so I said, I was very of course I put my name in. I said, I want to be living on this campus, and not only living on this campus, but living amongst students. And the universe loves, again, the serendipity as a theme, put me back into Victoria House, which was my house when I was a student. And so it is full circle that I am now living above the same, living in the same building that I lived in a little bit less than 10 years ago. And we are the last building to be renovated. So it is actually the exact building in the exact same formation, the same rooms, the same bed as when I was a student. And to be a house buddy and to really take on that role to support students here and to be a voice and kind of guide and mentor inside the resident life, not only in the school life and academic, but to be there in the kind of off hours is truly a dream. And I think again, my continuous dream is to be that mentoring guide, those kind of residents that I thought were so amazing to me, and to be an inspiration and mentor for those around, not only in class, but outside as well.
The students are so lucky to have you.
Let's hope.
And aside of these late night or what would you say, off hour conversations and call on duties, what do you enjoy most about being part of the campus community again?
I mean, it's all my favorite part, and the most essential part about Pearson has always been and always is the people. I think I really was, I was asked, is it weird to be back at Pearson after all these years having not been back? And I said, the first reason why it was weird was because it wasn't the same people. That Pearson so much for me was my co-years, was my fellow students and peers. Yes, there was many of the same teachers and staff that were there when I was, but so soon that perspective shifted back on me, because I said, this community, it changes and evolves and metamorphoses through time, but yet it does remain the same. There's something that is quite essential, and that is that the people are so good. And I think just they're such an amazing community. And for me to come back and be able to be reintroduced to that experience, to re-meet ghosts of my co-years, to hear about people who are from the same places, in the same classes, some who are doing the same initiatives, running the same programs, and yet it's 10 years on, I see my co-years and my second years in them. And I think for that, it is the best part has always been and always will be the students and the people in general, but most especially the students.
Of course, yeah, wow. A few years, because this has just started, and this seems very, very exciting. But what's in your future? Is there anything that you're looking forward to be doing, exploring?
I mean, for now, I'm definitely it's weird to be living your dream. I think it's, you know what I mean? I think I always wanted to be leading the arts, to be an artist, to be practicing, but I've always wanted to teach, and I've always wanted to be mentoring and guiding and teaching young people in the arts. And I count myself as preaching to the choir as a young person still. But I think for my future, I mean, one, I hope to really continue this work here at Pearson and really develop a strong foundation of not only my role here on campus, but also in teaching both those courses, in being a resident and being a house buddy, but again, in that hybridity of connecting all of those roles and kind of fusing those together to really be a bridge point and a network for all of that to happen. And then I hope that beyond that, whenever it comes time to kind of continue on, is that to find more opportunities of that is to be doing both teaching and practicing. That I think as artists and as teachers who teach the arts, we must always be practicing. I think it's not that we don't live in a vacuum. And so I think for me, it's really important that wherever I go, I want to be continuously producing art, working on projects, directing shows, designing productions, making artworks, immersive experiences, but to pull young people into that, to pull other community members so that as others have done for me through time. And then the dream is to, yeah, one day have a space where I can do that on my own. And I have my own space, my own, again, what is that? A company, a collective, a school of a way where I can bring like-minded and different diverse artists and teachers and educators to come bring young people together, and together we'll sit in the void and kind of play with what monsters we can kind of dwell up from there.
Awesome. That sounds wonderful. It really, really comes so together when you speak, and I see so much light and so much joy that you bring and then that you have for this community. Thank you so much. It's really incredible.
Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad we're doing this right now.
Yes, I think it's so. Thank you so much.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add that I've forgotten to ask you?
No, I think I'm just so grateful to be part of this community, and I'm just so grateful to continuously connect to the new students who are arriving, but also to look back to, again, my alumni, the co-years that I was with, but also all the students in that time since. And so I'm so excited to continue to learn more about this community and connect more.